In Chapter 4.2, we will discuss how to classify chemical reactions. The first type we will discuss are the precipitation reactions. These are when two reactants that are dissolved, which means in aqueous solution, react to form a solid product. Now, not every reaction between two aqueous solutions will produce a precipitate or solid. What determines whether a solid will form is called the solubility of the substances involved in the reaction. Substances that dissolve readily are referred to as soluble, and substances that do not dissolve are called insoluble. Substances will fall within a range of soluble and insoluble, so sometimes we might call something slightly soluble. A precipitate is a substance that is not soluble, so it will settle out of solution. This table is from your book and helps us predict the solubility of certain reactants. For example, when a group 1A metal reacts with a group 7A halide, it forms a soluble product, which means it's not a precipitate. On the other hand, when a cation like silver, mercury, or lead react with group 7A halide, it forms a solid that is insoluble, which means a precipitate will form. Here is an example of a precipitate reaction. Potassium iodide and lead nitrate react to form lead iodine and potassium nitrate. The lead iodine will precipitate out of the solution as a yellow solid, as shown here in the image. The acid-base reaction is our next type of reaction. An acid-base reaction is defined as the exchange of an H+ ion, also known as a proton. The acid reactant will be the proton donor, and the base will be the hydroxide donor. Next semester, we will spend an entire chapter learning more about acid-base chemistry. There are two categories of acids and bases based on their relative strengths. A strong acid and base will ionize 100% in solution, while a weak acid and base will ionize less than 100% in solution. There is a short list of strong acids and bases, so if it's not a strong acid or base, then it must be a weak acid or base. The 6 strong acids are listed here and need to be committed to memory. The rule for strong bases is that any group 1A or 2A metal with an OH- or hydroxide group is a strong base. If it's not listed here, then the acid or base is weak. When an acid and base react, a neutralization occurs. This is called a neutralization because the low and high pH of the acid and base will essentially cancel out and leave us with a solution at a pH of 7. The products that are formed are salt and water. A redox reaction is where there is an exchange of electrons between atoms. In order to see this exchange, you must know the oxidation state of the elements, which is something we have discussed when we learned about the periodic table a few lessons back. Here is an example of a redox reaction that is commonly completed in lab. When we begin to do stoichiometric calculations, we will see that there are a variety of different calculations we might need to complete. But the nice thing is the strategy we learn can be applied over and over again.